Hello and welcome to SUTV Live. We're here at Bramall Lane ahead of today's championship action. It's Stoke City who are the visitors. In the next hour, we've got plenty of build-up for this one. We're going to hear from the manager, Slavica Jokanovic. We've got an exclusive interview here on SUTV with Robin Olsen. Plus, we're going to hear from John Egan and get his thoughts ahead of the match this afternoon. So plenty to come. Don't go anywhere. And I've got two great guests alongside us as well to take us through all the build-up. One face, of course, you're going to know very well. It's former Sheffield United defender Kevin Gage. Kevin, good to have you here with us. International break, of course. Did you get up to anything exciting on a little day trip to York, was it?
Yeah, overnight trip to York and then Scarborough. You know, that haven of holidays for the Brits. I kind of miss the football on Saturday, to be honest. I don't really enjoy international breaks anymore. England are not the most exciting team to watch at the moment, but it's good to be back anyway.
That certainly is, and we're also joined as well by another familiar face for Sheffield United fans. It's Brian Dean. Brian, good to have you here with us.
Thank you, yeah, it's always good to come down to the lane.
How was international break for you?
It was fine, mostly daddy daycare stuff for me, so but hey, it was going to get me at some point.
I was going to ask, how did you find it as a player when it was international break? Of course, you had an international call-up in the mix in there as well.
Yeah.
From that perspective, you've gone away for a week, sometimes 2 weeks with the international side, and then you come back to your team. There's only a couple of days to prepare before a match day on a Saturday.
Yeah, I think it's always a very difficult situation for the manager because he's trying to work on things going to the game, but obviously without players who are perhaps quite central to what's actually going to happen on a weekend. So it can be quite difficult, and you're relying on your players coming back and kind of hitting the ground running, both physically and mentally.
And Kevin, how was it for you, international break? Because I say sometimes it's nice if you've got those international players within your setup, but obviously they go away. What's it like at the training ground for you in that week? Time off to relax, or is the manager drilling you hard?
No, I think it's an opportunity for the players who are not on international break to just have a bit of a rest, to be honest, because the games do come thick and fast, especially in the Championship. And so the other players usually get the weekend off or something like that. It's a chance to recuperate and get a few niggly injuries cleaned up as well. So it's a good opportunity for that mainly.
No, massive. We didn't give you too much time off last week either because you did the women's game for us as well. We're going to talk more about that in the show a little bit later on, but it was good to see so many fans here, wasn't it, last week?
It was great. It's a record attendance, wasn't it, I think, for a Championship. Yeah, it was a decent game. We didn't perform at our absolute best, but it was good to see over 4,000 Blades fans coming down and supporting the ladies.
Yeah, massively. Yeah. So that international break, of course, we had quite a few Blades players away performing for international duty. It's good for the side, isn't it, to have those players with that experience. Obviously, from a training perspective for the manager, it's a challenging week, I guess, but for the squad in general, to have players going off to play international football is a very good thing.
Yeah, I think it's a statement in that you have players who are capable of performing at that level, so that's always good for the actual club itself. It shows that you're on that level of kind of performing. I mean it's great. So everybody likes to come back with a story. The players are always glad to see those players coming back and welcome them into the squad. So it's always a balance though.
Kevin, from a manager's perspective, obviously Slav's had that time to look at the last two results, which obviously disappointing result, but performances, there was certainly some positives to take away from those games. How would a week for a manager be that we've just had with obviously those players going away, but time to maybe work on a few little bits and pieces, chance to think and evaluate what's gone before?
Yeah, it's difficult to work with a team, obviously, because as Brian said, you've got the bulk of the better players who are going away. So you can't really work on any team shape or anything specific. But it is, I think you just made it a key word there, it is time for him to take stock and to think, and I think it's a time for a bit of strategy and a bit of planning. He'll be looking at both the games we've played and the opposition to come. He'll be looking at his recruitment team, looking at maybe planning months ahead who they're going to go for in January, where he can tweak the side. So it's an important time, obviously. All weeks are important, aren't they, for a football manager? But he has got time, without any Sheffield United game, it's time for him to just take stock a bit and just to get his staff together and get his thoughts together as we move forward into the season.
And of course, after the last international break, we came back and we had a flurry of great results, didn't we? Which was obviously really important. So fingers crossed we're going to have that again coming in into today. Of course, the team news is out, so let's take a look at that, shall we? Let's see how the players are going to line up for you this afternoon. There's just one change from the side that played against Bournemouth a couple of weeks ago, and that change is that Jayden Bogle comes in, George Baldock goes out of the side. Just have a look at this team. Obviously, Olsen in goal. Got Stevens, Fleck, Sharp, Egan, Norwood, Bogle in there. David, Osborne, Morgan, Gibbs, White is in there, and we've got Benjai as well in there. A good, strong lineup for today. Obviously, you mentioned just that one change from Bournemouth, so we can take that performance forward today, Kevin.
Yeah, the performances, as you've just mentioned, have been very good. I mean, you take the results away, and the performances for the last, I'd say, 6 weeks have been good, actually. People get sometimes swayed by the score lines. The team kind of picks itself, which is strange to say because we've lost the last 2 games, but the team does pick itself, and that is the preferred formation and the personnel in there. The Jayden Bogle you can understand because it's like for like swap with George Baldock, so we all accept that, and it's not actually a downgrade from Baldock because Bogle, when he's come in the side, especially midway through last season, did extremely well. So what we lose from Baldock in a defensive sense, we gain in attacking going forward because Bogle is very, very good for going forward.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with what Kevin's saying. If you look at Stoke, they play with a 3 at the back usually, and although perhaps we're not going to match them up with a 3 at the back, there are some very good attacking options. Billy, obviously with his experience, then you've got Gibbs White, you've got Ndai, so it's very important sometimes when you're playing against teams that are quite physically strong that you don't match them up. You try and counter that by being smart in space, and I think with Ndai especially, is somebody who perhaps, if he's drifting into spaces, who picks him up? Is it a midfield player who drops back, or is it somebody at the back line that comes forward, and then that upsets their shape? So it's going to be a very interesting kind of development in the game. That I'm really looking forward to see how that manifests itself.
We're going to talk in depth about Stoke shortly, but from your perspective as a striker, Brian, when you're going up against the side, that are defensively very strong.
Yeah.
How does that change your mindset as a striker? Because I'm guessing your chances are going to be more limited. Do you adapt your game, or how do you set up for that mentally for you as a player?
So, I mean, putting my manager's head on here, if you look at a team like that, is you have to keep the ball moving quickly. You have to move it quick. You have to look to try and stretch them across the pitch, and then at that point look to use the spaces in between. That's going to be key for me. When you've got a team that's set up so well, and they play with a 3, they play wing backs, so they've got a very compact way of playing defensively. We really have to look to do that. If you keep the ball moving slowly, then the problem you've got is that will not upset them one iota.
Kevin, we mentioned that one change, obviously Jayden coming in. We've seen him a couple of times this season, but of course we got a good look at him last season in a good run of games. A great player to have in the squad and to drop in today. What are we going to see from him? What did you learn from him last year?
When he came in the side, it was a breath of fresh air. He was dribbling past people, taking people on. He was cutting inside. He was getting shots. I think he got a couple of goals as well. He really made an impact, which is what we were after. So as I said previously, I think defensively he's not the best, so I don't want to see him getting caught out in any, and he's going to have, as Brian said, it's going to be tough today because he'll have a fast direct wing back right up against him, and it's going to be a good battle down that right hand side for him. But I don't see as it's a massive loss to lose George Baldock. We have a more than adequate replacement, and it really is a flip of the coin which one you could pick on a week to week basis. It just depends, what the manager thinks, what type of player he wants as a fullback, basically.
How will Stoke look at that change today? Because obviously sometimes if you see a player like that of George that's coming out of the side, you think, okay, that could be an area for us to attack. But obviously a player like Jayden coming there, it's a different problem that Stoke have got to deal with.
Yeah, I think it's quite easy to flip because on the one hand they know that defensively they've got more of a threat now, but at the same time when they're attacking they'll probably look at the weakness or perceived weakness, if we say that George is a better defender, that will give them in terms of exploiting perhaps areas behind him. So yeah, look, you know, we're talking about finite details here, and this is what you get at this level now. Even this level now, everybody looks at every decision that's made and tries to find a way of exploiting another team's, you know, shortcomings, as it were.
Kevin, obviously we know that the Stoke are good defensively. Defensively today, to us, that's going to be key as well. We know Stoke like some to play out from the back. They are defensively strong. They're hard to break down. We got to match that at the back today as well.
Yeah, I mean that happens every game though, doesn't it? You have to, you know, whoever you're playing, you have to like match up against them and kind of impose our game on Stoke, because Brian rightly said there's no point trying to out physical some of these sides that we're up against. You know, we found out against West Brom that doesn't quite work. So I'm always a bit concerned that teams, you know, are sometimes out battling us, but we're not set up to be really physical against teams. So we have to impose our passing game and our creative game on other teams. And at home, that's especially important, you know, because we've got a lovely big pitch, you know, and we do pile forward and get bodies forward. So, you know, with 30,000 crowd behind us, that's what we need to do today.
Yeah, so the stadium's starting to fill up nicely behind us here. It's such a great view to kind of see all the fans starting to trickle in. And we've got 2 home games in 4 days, which is incredibly exciting. How special is this crowd on a match day like today? When you're playing against a tough team like Stoke, they can really play their part.
Well, you know, look, you're talking to somebody who used to revel with this crowd behind him, you know, so for me it's a great place to play on a Saturday afternoon. And like you say, the crowd usually just want an opportunity or an excuse to get behind the team. And I think that if we go out there with the right tempo, that's all they need sometimes. You know, they've been starved because they've not had any football for a couple of weeks. So everybody's always like, you know, I can't wait for the game. It's like you get addicted. So, no, I think it'll be a fantastic atmosphere. And you will see that just at 1 minute to 3, what they're like.
He's getting wound up, isn't he?
I know, he's excited already, isn't he?
He's punching his hand, he's ready, isn't he?
I can't wait to watch the game. He's going to be flying around. But for you, Kevin, as well, echo those sentiments from Brian. It's a special place, and obviously having those next couple of games at home, that's going to be so important to get some points on the board.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned the last international break, and we came back with an absolute bang, didn't we? 6 against Peterborough. So it would be nice to do something similar, and I think 4 points out of these next 2 home games are absolutely crucial to get us back amongst the pack. You know, not right up there, but slow and steady, we'll get back up there.
Okay, so the last time the Blades were in action, of course, was a couple of weeks ago. We went down to the South Coast to take on Bournemouth. Let's take a quick look back at that match.
And we're underway. It's Bournemouth against Sheffield United in the Sky Bet Championship. Billy Sharp making progress in the middle. Osborne with the cross, close to the goalkeeper, but all he could do, Mark Travers, was palm it behind. Stevens done a very nice job of it. Here's John Fleck. Now Ben Osborne. 2 in the box for Osborne. Little cross is a good one, and Sharp, I think, may have got something on it. I think the flag's up as well. It was a good break by Sheffield United, this time playing out from the back. Bulldog. Fleck was calling for it. Might break for Billy Sharp here. Billy Sharp! Great chance for Sheffield United. He only had eyes for goal there, Billy Sharp. And the skipper wraps his leg there in frustration. That was delivery. Oh, that was half a chance, wasn't it? This is definitely the final action of the first half. That's a very good header away. Still alive for Bournemouth in the penalty area. Baldock's up there, and that's a brave one from John Egan, an important one too. There is the half-time whistle. Might come for Billy Sharp here. Still going Billy Sharp. Tight angle, decent ball across goal. Oh, what a finish that is! Morgan Gibbs-White. Brilliant move by Sheffield United. The work was done by Billy Sharp. Another assist for the Blades skipper. And Morgan Gibbs-White arrives with his 3rd goal of the season. 56 minutes gone. It's Bournemouth 0, Sheffield United 1. Well, that's a lovely looking ball. Solanke's onto this. Solanke, is he away from Davis? That's a challenge by Stevens. The referee has a good look. He's given a penalty. Solanke, and cool as you like, sends it into the left corner. Olsen dived the other way. Bournemouth quickly back on terms. Solanke may have injured himself in the process. 62 gone, Bournemouth 1, Sheffield United 1. Solanke pushes it wide. Christie now inside the penalty area. Looks for Billing on the stretch, and all of a sudden Bournemouth are in front. Philip Billing back in the goals again. Worked his way between two Sheffield United defenders, diverts it beyond Olsen. 65 minutes played, it's Bournemouth 2, Sheffield United 1. They've both delayed again. Norwood delivers deep. And down in the box there was McBurney. Good run this by Zamora. Wants it back, gets it back, chance, and he's smashed it into the side netting. Gibbs White takes a deflection. Close was that. Norwood space to put that cross in, and he does. Egan with the header, looking for Mousset, heads against the bar. McBurney, and it's wide. Fleck will bring it forward, has got the advantage. And Fleck gets the pass away. This is definitely last chance saloon for Sheffield United. Ender Stevens with a cross. And there is the full-time whistle. It's finished. Bournemouth 2, Sheffield United 1.
Well, there we go. Maybe not the points or a draw there, but of course a positive performance is always good to take away, and lots of chances in that one. Kevin, of course, you were on co-coms for that game like you are today once again. Just your assessment of that game, because we keep saying there's lots of positives, but there were positives to take away.
Yeah, there were. We've already mentioned the performances have been really good. I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's all about scoreline, of course, and getting points on the board. But again, we've out-possessioned them 60% to 40. We had a decent amount of shots, and we created some really good chances. Just seeing the Mousset miss at the end, you know, dear oh dear, Billy Sharp will be disappointed with the ones he's missed as well. So I think 2-2 would have been a more than fair result. And you only had to look at the reaction of the Bournemouth players at the end. I mean, they celebrated as if they've already won promotion. They knew it was a massive, massive victory for them.
Yeah, Brian, as a striker, it's obviously the cliche to say you've got to take your chances, isn't it? But, you know, I guess it's a positive that we are creating those chances to get Billy in a position that, you know, on another day he'll score those goals and we'll come away with 3 points. Yeah,
I mean, if you're looking at those highlights, you know, created lots of chances, you know, which, you know, is really good when you think about how the season started, you know, with I think the first game we played Birmingham, didn't we? And there was nothing. So I think the manager's starting to understand his players a little bit more. Yeah, you know, you know, having that kind of energy is fantastic.
From a defensive point of view, got to talk about that Ender Stevens challenge for the penalty. Could he have stood up a bit longer? Did he need to fly in there? Could someone else have got in the way?
Well, all of those things, yeah. I mean, if Ender was sat next to us here, I'm sure he'd be the first to admit that he didn't need to make that tackle. Solanke is running kind of an angle away from goal. The ball's bobbling. There's a couple of defenders chasing him. So it was a last-ditch tackle that he didn't really need to make. Having said all that, it was outside the box. It's been proven on many, many replays. So for one, we were, you know, robbed a little bit that it wasn't a penalty, and two, it was a ridiculous challenge to make at that stage.
But it wasn't even a challenge as such, was it? He was trying to. His momentum was taking it there. I mean, it's poor. I'm not defending it,
no.
but I'm just saying that, you know, in the instance, it's, you know, it's a bit of a shambles.
And also, I mean, there's a kind of rule that if you foul someone outside the area and the foul continues into the box, then you have to give a penalty. So I only found that out after the game. So I think the referee and the linesman between them, maybe they thought the foul started outside the box but continued into the box with Ender sliding in. Because if you watch it again and again and again, which sadly I have.
It seems like you've not let go of this one, have you, literally?
Have you got anything else to do with your time?
He tries to slide him with 1 foot, but his other foot is about 3 foot off the ground, and I think, and he caught Solanke's thigh as well, which Solanke put it on social media after the game. So I think there was a kind of ongoing foul all the way through.
You've just hit the nail on the head as well. The fact that his legs up in the air probably made it look worse than it actually was. You know. So.
Yeah. And in those conditions as well, it's wet, it's slippery. You're going to keep going, aren't you? But there we go. Positives to take from that game, and obviously lots of things we can take into today's game as well. As we mentioned, that match was a couple of weeks ago, but that doesn't mean that there wasn't a Sheffield United team in action, because our women's side played here at Bramall Lane. It was an amazing day, a great atmosphere within the stadium. It was just incredible. Kevin, you were part of it, and you were part of that day, a special day here at Bramall Lane.
Yes, it was. It was an excellent occasion, really. It was great for the girls to get out on the pitch. They do once or twice a year. Fantastic response from Sheffield United fans, you know, over 4,000 in the ground. Unfortunately, they didn't play very well. I've seen them play better than that. So they dipped out on the day 2-0 to Liverpool. But it was good. It was good all round, and good for the football club as a whole, just to get, you know, keep the momentum going. And they're putting a lot of effort and investment into the ladies' game, and it's good to see the fans reacting to it.
No, they certainly are. Well, as Kevin said there, you know, maybe the result didn't go quite the way, but there's still plenty to take away from that game as well. Here's some of the highlights.
Get this game underway. Sheffield United in red and white striped shirts and black shorts, and we're underway here at Bramall Lane. The Women's Championship, Sheffield United against Liverpool. Here's Wardlaw coming in from this right-hand side. Half a chance maybe to shoot, digs out the cross. Oh, was dipped over Frank Kitching. It was a mazy run from Charlotte Wardlaw, cutting field, and it just kind of opened up for her. The dipping shot from 20 yards, 6.5 minutes gone, and it's Blades 0, Liverpool 1. Risbeck's Rayner brings the ball under control on the edge of the penalty area. Lipka arriving, looks for Watson, great feet. Lucy Watson into a bit of space, Watson with a strike into the side netting, probably United's best moment of the game so far, and it's the fleet of foot from Lucy Watson who created half a yard there for a strike. Furness will get the cross in, it's a dangerous cross, wonderful ball, headed into the net, 2-0 to the visitors. Sheffield United just a little bit helpless there. It was a wonderful cross, and Leanne Kiernan, like all good strikers do, lurking at the far stick. It was a simple header, 36 minutes gone, it's Sheffield United 0, Liverpool 2. What can United do here? Rayner trying to slot a ball in behind, it's a good one for Sweetman Kirk, who takes it first time. Well, Courtney Sweetman Kirk timed her run to perfection. That's a mistake though, and Rayner will bring it forward for United. And look at Lucy Watson in the great position. Watson on the left foot, decent strike. It's well held by Rachel Laws.
Lines this up, I can't think for 1 second she's going to shoot.
And it goes into a crowded penalty area. It's a half decent flick on, and Jess Clark just felt, I think she was blocked off there. She tried to read that glance from Sweetman Kirk.
Technical player.
Cusac's corner right into the mix. It might break for Sweetman Kirk with an acrobatic effort, and that was a very brave header clear from Hines, I think it was. Sheffield United women. And there is the full-time whistle. It's finished Sheffield United 0, Liverpool 2.
Well, there we go. Some of the action from the women's game last weekend. Let's talk about it a bit more now, shall we? Brian, obviously, we've mentioned about the atmosphere inside this stadium already, but 4,000 fans coming out to support the women's team. It's just amazing to see the women's game growing and the support along with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love watching women's football, and obviously now a lot more of the teams up and down the country are taking it seriously now, and they're putting teams in. You know, up until a few years ago, you didn't have Manchester United, for example, but all the teams are now seeing the benefit of having a women's game. I mean, I played abroad. I did play abroad, yeah, but I also managed abroad, and we had a women's team at Sarpsborg, and you know, it was a real kind of, it was really integrated into the kind of fabric. It wasn't just about the men's team, it was about the women's team as well. So it's really good to see that happening, and it does actually open up the brand to a bigger audience as well.
No, it certainly does. Kevin, obviously for you were involved in that game on the co-coms. Just give us a bit more insight into the game. Obviously, come and here. The pitch is a lot bigger than the pitch that the girls normally play on as well. So obviously there's lots of different things that come into it. The fans in the stadium as well. An incredible experience, but obviously sometimes you just got to get used to that slightly as well, coming into a different environment to play your home game.
Yeah, I mean, they play the home games at Chesterfield FC, the Technique Stadium, so that's a nice ground. They're used to playing in a nice ground. I made the comment that I think Bramall Lane's pitch dimensions are bigger than Chesterfield. I don't know whether that's actually correct. It seems to be bigger anyway. I think it's a bit wider, which is important. But yeah, I think Liverpool on the day were just technically better and fitter than us. But also, what's got to be remembered is Liverpool are a full-time professional, women's outfit, and I think we're of the 12 teams in the league. We're one of the 4 that aren't, that are still part-time. So we have a disadvantage there. But they didn't disgrace themselves, and as we saw in the highlights, they had a few chances to score. But I think overall Liverpool's bit of extra quality and bit of fitness class showed on the day.
Yeah, well, it was great to see the women's team in action here at Bramall Lane. And if you came along, thank you so much for your support, because I know the team very much appreciated that. And it's good to see the whole fan base getting behind all the teams here at Sheffield United. It's match day here. We're live at Bramall Lane. The stadium is filling up nicely behind us, and let's run you through the two sides, shall we, ahead of today's fixture. We'll start off, of course, with the Blades for you this afternoon. We've had a bit of a chat in detail about this side already, but a bit of a reminder in there for you as well. Brian, attacking threat going forward this afternoon. We want to be getting Billy Sharp in some good positions today.
Yeah, the one thing about Billy that a lot of people will struggle with at this level is his movement and his experience in and around the box. I think that's shown by the way he's still scoring goals, but you know that's been backed up now with Ndai. We've talked about the fact that he picks nice pockets of space to be able to get on with and do his skills. You've got Morgan Gibbs-White, who's contributed to some goals, and then we've also touched on the fact that Jayden Bogle's in the side, so he's going to offer more of a threat. Ben Osborne as well. So I think for me, I like the way we've set up for this game. We've got to take it to them, and I think that will show with those characters.
And obviously some good strength on the bench as well, Kevin, today.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, there's three good attacking options there, isn't there? You've got a bit of everything. You've got McGoldrick if you need to link play a bit, and I can see him coming on after maybe 65, 70 minutes, because Ndai usually comes off with cramp about that time. He's had a few problems. Lys Mousset, we know what he's all about. He just needs to get fit, because a fit Lys Mousset is a real asset, and he missed a hell of an opportunity, didn't he, last week against Bournemouth with that header. And McBurney, we know what he's all about. He'll give us an aerial threat. Just looking at Chris Basham, I think he's been unfortunate this season because he been my player of the year over last season, and he's always there or thereabouts. Just can't get into the side. And somebody made a good point actually earlier in the day that you could have actually put Chris Basham in for his defensive qualities for Baldock today and left Bogle out, but obviously we've gone for the more attacking option.
Certainly. Let's take a look at today's opposition then, Stoke City. They don't travel well so far in the league, just 5 points from 15 in their away fixtures. And this is how they line up today. They've got Davis in goal, obviously some names in there that people will know, some good players to pick out, but obviously we're going to deal with those today. Nick Powell obviously is a real threat for them. Brian, 5 goals so far this season.
Yeah, he's got a good pedigree, and obviously he's going to be one to watch really. I think the way how they play, I think everything attacking is going to go through him, and so he'll have plenty of support. I've always thought Sawyers is a decent player. Obviously the experience of Joe Allen as well. So yeah, they've got they're a good solid side.
Tommy Smith down that right hand side, he's having a great season so far. He's got 4 assists down that right. That could be an area we need to make sure we've got tied up today, because with Tommy down that right, with Nick Powell linking up there as well, that could be their main threat maybe from them. Yeah,
the threats will come from the wing back areas, definitely. That's their main width and where they'll be looking to attack us. Ender Stevens, big game for him. He's only just come back a couple of weeks back in the side, so it'll be a good battle down that right hand side. They're a decent side, aren't they? They've surprised everybody this season. They weren't really favourites or anything at the start of the season, but O'Neill's a good manager, obviously lots of experience, and he's formed them into quite a good, solid, strong outfit.
Yeah, they will come here and they'll be saying we don't get beat today, because from the point of view of if they do that, they deny one of their potential rivals at the end of the season points, make it a lot harder for us. So that will be in the mind of the manager. Tactically, he's going to be thinking, well, the worst thing we do here is come away with a draw.
Obviously, we know with Stoke, traditionally they're obviously a very defensive, they're a very solid side. Kevin, obviously you're a solid defender as well, but a word on Harry Sota, 95% tackle rate so far this season. He's got 84% pass completion as well, so he's kind of their linchpin at the back, isn't he? He's going to make it difficult for Billy and our attacking players today.
Yeah, I was told about those stats just before we came on air. That was really quite impressive.
Not as good as your stats though. I'm expecting yours with 99% tackle completion rate.
Obviously.
You're playing too much FIFA, you.
But I'll be interested to see him play, I wish he was English. Apparently he's Australian, isn't he, or something? But yeah, he's been likened to a young Harry Maguire as well, which is praise indeed. We all know about him at Sheffield United. So if he's half the player that Harry Maguire's turned out to be, then he's some prospect.
And what do you make of Michael O'Neill and what he's done with this side? Because as I mentioned, traditionally we know they've been a very robust side to play, very tough under the likes of Tony Pulis and Mark Hughes and those managers. Michael O'Neill obviously wants to put his stamp on and it's his Stoke City side. What have you been impressed with that he's done so far?
Well, I haven't seen an awful lot of them, obviously. He's been concentrating on Sheffield United, but O'Neill's got pedigree, hasn't he? And I think they're trying desperately to get away from that Tony Pulis tag, because they had 10 seasons in the Premier League. I mean, that's an awful lot of money filtering through that club. So they should really be set up very, very well to get back to the Premier League, as soon as possible. And they've made an astute appointment in O'Neill, and he's gradually turning the tide.
I guess that's a tough thing about this league, Brian, isn't it? You've got a team like us that wants to get back in that Premier League as quickly as we can. We've got a team like Stoke City that want to get back in that Premier League. It makes this league incredibly tough, and it means match days like this are no mean feat.
No, absolutely. I think what it does underline is how clubs have to have a strategy. We've seen clubs that have got relegated and then they've just gone straight through the floor. But you have to have a strategy in place to make sure that you can stay buoyant and then build again. And a lot of teams don't do that. A lot of clubs think it's like red or black. But I think realistically, you have to have a plan, short, medium, long term, that says, okay, perhaps we've got to take stock of what's going on and look to bounce back up. Stoke have been sort of like a team that have been down there now, but you would think that it's a big club. And it should be looking to be going in the direction that it is, and they've got a manager who is perhaps prepped for that now.
Ken, what's going to be the key for us today?
As we've already mentioned, I think we have to impose our creativity and our possession game. We always seem to have more possession than the opposition. Sometimes that doesn't equate to loads more shots and shots on target, so we need to make that transition to not just pass the ball sideways and backwards and keep possession for possession's sake. We need to be a little bit more positive, maybe a little bit more physicality in the way we pass the ball and the speed of our passing. So we have to impose our game on Stoke, not get too worried about what Stoke will do physically, and just make sure we are, Sheffield United, and play to our strengths.
Well, let's take a look at the last 5 results for Stoke City coming into this one. Of course, they beat West Brom, who currently sit top of the Championship. A win against Hull and a win against Watford in the Carabao Cup as well. But defeats to Derby, they got a draw against Preston as well. I guess for them, that win against West Brom, Brian, is going to fill them with confidence at the moment going forward for their push for promotion as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, West Brom sit at the top, and so from their point of view, it's a good way to go into the international break when you've won a game, and then you can look to build on that. So I think that you're going to be looking at a side that have come in here and they're going to be pretty confident about that they can execute their plan.
And coming here today, obviously, an important point of view for the Blades is that it's important to set our tempo, play our game. It's our home ground. Let's put our way of play on them, get the fans behind us. That's going to be key.
Look, for me, I always say this, it's about tempo. So as long as we get that going and we start looking to look for forward passes, I think that we can do some damage today.
Okay, well, a little bit earlier on, I caught up with John Fleck to get his pre-match thoughts. John, good to get back to it today. Obviously, international break, but 2 games in 4 days here at Bramall Lane. It's going to be good to have the fans behind you today for these next couple of games.
Yeah, it's obviously great to get back playing. The boys have done well, being away with their countries, and it's good for us to be back and obviously playing in front of a home crowd. It should be good.
Obviously, the last 2 results before the international break, obviously disappointing, but positives to take out of that Bournemouth game. Lessons learnt to take in today?
Yeah, there was always lessons to be learned, especially when you lose games. There was certainly a lot of positives to take from the Bournemouth game, as a lot of people seen, and some things just didn't go away.
And just finally, of course, Stoke City, the opposition today. What kind of challenge are they going to pose for us?
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult again, as with against any team in the Championship. It's always hard, and I'm sure they'll be very, very physical and strong, and especially at set pieces and things, and that'll be something we'll have to be on toes for.
Amazing. John, thank you very much. There we go, the pre-match thoughts there of John Fleck going into this one. The atmosphere is building nicely. It's a pleasure to have your company here with us today on SUTV Live. Now, my two studio guests today have played against Stoke a few times between them. We're going to start off with you, Kevin. Good memories of playing against Stoke?
Yes, I've scored against Stoke with a 30-yard screamer.
I love how you're getting that in nice and early, because he knows what's coming next, because we're going to be talking about some goals that this man scored. I like you getting that in early.
Had to. You only get one chance. I mean, the thing about Stoke, especially when we used to go to the Victoria Ground, always a really difficult place to play, really. And of course, coming up to current day, we talked about earlier with the Pulis, you just know what you're getting from the Stoke City side. So one of those teams, not glamorous, nothing too special about them, but always give you a good hard game.
Massively. Now, unfortunately, we haven't got footage of that 30-yard
screamer. Too long ago.
Well, they film games. But maybe we can get a ball and he can recreate it a little bit later on in the studio for us. Why not? But we have got some footage of you, Brian, which we're going to take a look at now as we talk through your kind of performances against Stoke. Some good memories for you playing against them.
Yeah, look, I mean, when I was playing then, it was just a case of I was just fortunate enough to go out there, and you know, every game I just look forward to. I do remember this game, and Ian Bryson chops it out wide, Tony Egan, and I think I get across with a little diving header, little number. You know, you don't see them nowadays, do you?
Great finish. That day,
you don't see that nowadays. So look, I mean, it's always wonderful memories for me looking back at times when I scored goals, especially down here. I mean, it was a special time for me.
Yeah, 97-98 as well. You scored here and away as well.
Okay. Let me have a look at this. I can't remember this goal. That's when. Is that no? That's Gareth Taylor.
Oh, is it? Yeah, so that's the first one. I think you get the second one in this game, if I remember rightly. Ball gets worked in.
Was that me? That's a scuff and a half, isn't it?
You'll take it though.
I'll take 50 of them a season. They're on offer.
Yeah. Love that. I love that. And so we've got another goal on this one. This one's been in the return leg.
Yeah.
The back post as well.
Yeah. Good old taste, mate. You know what I mean?
That's a scuffed header, wasn't it?
No. Listen, I took the pace off the ball. Did you not see the top spin I put on it?
Do you want to talk us through your 30-yard screen? We don't have any footage of it, but you can talk us through it if you want.
Can I get my pillar?
Right, obviously you guys both had some success against them. Any other sides that you used to enjoy playing against? Sometimes you speak to players and they say, I used to love going to this ground or love playing against them because I knew I could get in that particular player's back pocket. Is there any kind of one that stands out for you, Kevin?
Well, I always like playing against my old clubs, funnily enough. Some people hate it, but I always quite like playing against the old clubs. I had a decent record. I think it's more going to grounds as opposed to teams. You touched on it there. There's some grounds you just don't want to go to at all that are just horrendous, like the old Millwall Stadium at Coldblow Lane. I mean, just a horrendous place to play. And the fans are in your face, and you know you're getting abuse everywhere you go. I used to take the corners and used to get coins and things thrown at me, and all sorts. Yeah, so I think it's just away grounds sometimes more than the teams themselves. You know?
How for you, Brian?
No, I mean, I scored a lot of goals against most of the teams. You know, Manchester United, I had a decent record against them. I think of all the top division sides, it was only Arsenal really who I struggled to score against while I was down here. But if you talk about grounds and not wanting to play at them, I think Stoke City have probably got one of those grounds that it's horrendous because the wind comes through it, and that's the one thing that I used to hate playing in windy conditions was terrible. They used to have all kinds of sandwich wrappers, McDonald's and all the rest of it on the pitch while we're playing. Horrible.
Yeah. Okay, well that's a little bit of a reflection, of course, on memories of Stoke who were playing today. But there's more action, of course, coming your way this week. As I mentioned, we've got 2 home games in the space of 4 days. Tuesday the 19th of October, 7:45 kickoff. Paul Walker is your host for that one. We're on air from 7 o'clock, so make sure you do join us for that. And of course, we spoke about the women's team a little bit earlier on. You can get involved and follow those on social media as well at SUFC_women on Twitter and Instagram, and just take out the underscore if you want to get involved on Facebook. So we're continuing the countdown to kick off here this afternoon in the Championship. The Blades are going to be taking on Stoke City. We had a little bit of a catch-up earlier on with John Egan to get his thoughts on this one.
You know, we turned the corner after the last international break, and you know, the last two games we didn't get the results we wanted, so you know, we're looking to put that right now Saturday and, you know, get back on a winning run.
Stoke have obviously had a really good start to the year. Would this be kind of a statement of intent win if you could come back and beat them this weekend?
It's the next game, whether it be Stoke, whether it be anyone. You know, you want to win the next game, and that's the main thing is the 3 points, and that's what we're fighting for.
Are you aware of trying not to lose ground though on those top teams if the ultimate ambition is to be in that top 6 at least by the end of the season?
Not at the moment, no. I don't really look at the table this early. I suppose last time we went up I didn't start looking at the table till you know, kind of after January, February, March time. You know, that's kind of when you know where you're at. If you start looking ahead too soon, there's no point really, because of the amount of games left. As I said, the whole focus is on the next game, and you know, that's the most important thing.
What kind of game are you expecting against Stoke? They seem to have been involved in some good ones so far, and obviously had that tight game with West Brom just before the international break. Yeah,
it'll be tough. You know, they're a really good side. They've shown that this season. Got some really good players, and you know, it's going to be a tough game. So hopefully we can prepare right now and get ourselves ready to be in the position to give everything to get 3 points.
There we go, good to get the thoughts of John Egan ahead of this one. Now, a player who's not involved today, of course, is Rhys Norrington-Davies, unfortunately not involved today, but he, of course, played for Stoke last season. So, Kevin, would the manager have maybe had a word, just get a little bit of extra insight on this Stoke team?
Possibly. I think we've got enough analysts and staff behind the scenes looking at the video, so I don't think there'll be much to be gained from speaking to him individually. But he might have done. As Brian said, fine margins if you can get something on a couple of the players. That Norrington-Davies will know. Norrington-Davies might have a word with Enda Stevens if to talk about the right wing back or anybody on that right hand side. Just little bits and bobs maybe, but nothing too specific. I think it'll be more a general view that they'll have.
Was that the same for you as well, Brian? If you were going up against the former side, you might just give a bit of advice to one of your other teammates. He doesn't like his right foot as much, he doesn't like his left, or do him on the turn. What? Yeah,
I don't know. I don't think I was ever clever enough to get any information out of my former teammates. Sometimes you might know somebody a little bit. If you go further away from the fixture, you might be able to try and work out what's going on. If somebody's unhappy, or those are the ones you usually used to tap into, innit? The ones who were kind of had a beef at the time. I'm not playing, and that happened in training, and then you could try and work out. But generally now, I think that with the way how things have gone, information is kind of kept quite tight now.
I guess as well, Kevin, chatting to your former teammates from last year, I guess he's been kicked out of the WhatsApp group most probably, would you presume by now? There's going to be no accidentally keep yourself stayed in there.
Oh, he'll have been ejected immediately, yeah. But he did very well for Stoke, actually, didn't he, last season? I think they were interested in signing him, but he started the season very well here as well. He's lost his place to Enda. And Ender's proved himself to be really on form, in his games back. He's looked like the old Enda Stevens, because we missed him last year. He wasn't on form at all, but he's come back, apart from that little tackle at Bournemouth, but his general play has been excellent. So we need him, a good Enda Stevens back in the side.
Certainly do. Okay, the countdown to kick off continues, and here at SUTV, of course, we bring you lots of exclusive build-up, and it's great to have you with us ahead of today's game. We love to bring you a little exclusive. So a little bit earlier on, we caught up with a gentleman who's been away on international duty. This is what we caught up with Robin Olsen.
Yes, it was two really important games for us. We needed those 6 points. Because we know that we have a tough game next month against Spain away, so it was good for us, and especially to have 2 clean sheets as well. It's important for the team, so it feels good.
And you had an impact at the other end of the pitch as well. Tell us about that assist that you got too.
have speak a lot about that, me and Isak, that because I know he's fast, and if there is space behind the defense, we will try to make this counter attack. So yeah, I mean we were 1-0 up, and I saw there was a big space, so I just tried to find him, and then he was ice-cold. He dribbled a little bit and scored, so I think it was a nice goal.
And top of the group as well, above Spain. Things are looking good, aren't they, going into the next round of international fixtures now?
Yeah, like I said, we needed those 6 points, but we have a game more before the last game. We play against Georgia away, so we need to win that one as well. So, but we're in a good position. It's up to us. Yeah, we know what to do.
Back to domestic action now, and first of all, how well are you sort of settling into life here at Bramall Lane?
Good. I mean, it's always hard to come to a new team, a new club, and new teammates. It will take time, but I think it's going pretty fast, to be honest. And then, I mean, I've played some games now with the back four. That will take time as well, but it goes much better than in the beginning when everything was new for me. So now I'm just looking forward to play with them.
Frustrating defeat against Bournemouth despite a really good team performance. Can you take the positives out of that?
We can take a lot of things we did well. There was not a game we should lose, in my opinion, because we played well, but other circumstances did that we lost the game. So yeah, no, we need to take the positive things from that game into the next game, because, like I said, I think we played well.
Really tough game against Stoke, followed by Millwall on the Tuesday night. I mean, the table can change really quickly, can't it?
Yeah, I mean, I always take one game at a time. Keep focus on the next game. But of course, everything can happen, and it can go fast up and down. But I think we just need to keep focus on the next game, play well, and win the game. So that's what we need to do.
There we go, an exclusive SUTV interview there with Robin Olsen. Brian, a great acquisition, a great goalkeeper to bring into the side, and a couple of clean sheets from away on international duty. That's going to breed some real confidence going into today for him.
Yeah, I mean, you know, obviously with Aaron going, it was important to bring in somebody with some kind of standing and stature, and I think it's a very good signing as an option. And yeah, you know, he's gone away. He's their number one, Sweden's number one. So it's great. You know, it fills that void. You know, both physically and mentally for everybody involved with the club.
Kevin, having an international goalkeeper behind you as a defender, that must just breathe confidence into you, knowing that there's someone with a lot of experience behind you.
Absolutely, yeah. I quite like the fact he's 6'5" as well. I think that always helps as a keeper. So he's commanding, isn't he? And I think he's only going to get better. I think he's exactly right when he says, and Egan touched on it as well. You know, they're getting more solid, and they're getting to work as a unit better. We do need to improve the defensive side of our game, because that's where we built our success in the past few seasons. So we're just shipping a few too many goals. No blame attached to Olsen, of course. I don't think he's been at fault for anything. I'd like him to see his distribution. We talked about his assist there for the goal that Sweden got. But sometimes he's a little bit indecisive with his clearances and takes one too many touches. So I'd like to see that eradicated if possible. He's giving us heart attacks sometimes when he gets the ball.
We saw some great saves in that VT as well there. You know, from a striker, when you're coming up against the goalkeeper like that, it's a bit of a nightmare. Yeah,
I mean, he's a big dude, isn't he? So from that point of view, you know, he's very good technically. So it's very difficult when somebody that big is rushing into, even if you're kind of catching him out of the corner of your eye, you know, you're very much aware, and that split second can cause you to do, you know, something, you know, it could cause you to miss, or you just take your mind off things. So no, he's a good goalkeeper with a good pedigree.
Certainly, it's hopefully a solid performance from him today. Right, Kevin, we're going to let you disappear because you've got to go and be on commentary for today's game. So best of luck with that. But just your final thoughts on today before I let you go.
Keep our good performances going, but we need to marry that now with getting some goals and some wins and some points on the board. So good performance, but we need to score the goals that match our performance.
Can I tempt you for a score prediction?
I think we'll win 2-0.
2-0. We'll hold you to that one. Kevin, thank you very much. Good to have you on the build-up with us today. Okay, let's now get the thoughts, shall we, from the manager, Slavisa Jokanovic, ahead of the match today.
We start very well. We check a lot of the last game. Is physically really strong team. Is one of the biggest winner in all the challenge in the physical. Is the physical part of the work is impressive from their side. Even they are combined well, where they score the goals. They can be really dangerous team for us. They start better than us, and for us is a great chance for try clean our image and make it one step forward.
Do you expect them to arrive full of confidence after beating West Brom in their last game?
If they are still enjoying this last victory, it can be good news for me. But I am sure they have really good coach with a lot of the experience, and is probably this game is behind of them. Is in theory is different style what they will find play against us than play against West Bromwich. I am sure they will be ready for the challenge, and they will put everything on the field for try something positive for themselves.
Thoughts there of the manager going into this one, and we've just been looking over our shoulder. The atmosphere's building. The sun's starting to come out across Sheffield today for the Blades match. What's it like being out there, coming off of that warm-up? Music's building. We can hear it through the studio window. Yeah. It's going to be cracking out there today.
Yeah, I mean, it's Stoke are one of the teams that have started the season well. The fans will be up for it. It's always a great atmosphere, just prior to kick-off. And like I've mentioned before, the fact that there's been no football for 2 weeks, people are looking forward to getting back into the groove. So yeah, it's going to be a good game.
Less than 10 minutes till kick-off. What was your routine after you've done your warm-up, you've done your bit of stretching? Yeah. Do you go back and get in your own headspace now? Is that for you, or?
Yeah, completely. I just kind of going over some of the things that I thought about to do with the game. Just trying to build up that kind of inner kind of belief, as it were, and then being prepared for when the whistle goes. I think around now the manager's kind of trying to get his last few messages across to the players. Also, you'll get one or two of the other players, the leaders in the changing room, just going round some of the players and saying, look, we need to be on our mettle here. Remember they're going to have this kind of start or whatever. So it's a great time. This is when the adrenaline really starts building, and you're coming out. For me as a forward, I'm thinking, can I start the game quickly? Is there an opportunity I can take in the first few minutes? But at the same time, I think that defenders will be thinking, well, look, guys, we need to keep things tight in the first 10-15 minutes. So it's a real mix of emotions going in there, and the anxiety, the adrenaline, it's all building at the same time. And this is a time where you're just thinking, I just need to be out on that pitch now. I've had enough. Get me out there and let me get started.
And a pretty decent roar when you come out the tunnel, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Amazing. We just got a couple of minutes until we'll head over to our commentary team for today. Just your final thoughts going into this game today. What's going to be the key in those first 5, 10, 15 minutes for the Blades today?
Tempo. For me, it's got to be quick. The passing has got to be sharp. It's got to be incisive. And if we do manage to get them, low and deep, then we've got to look at the right opportunity to be incisive in between their players. And that's why I think Ndai could be very important today. I think Billy's movement in and around the box is going to be important as well. But that tempo is the one thing. You have got to start with a high tempo. Especially when you're at home. If you're away from home, it's a different argument altogether. But when you're at home, you have to get them on the back foot and keep them on the back foot as long as possible. And then obviously you need to take your chances.
And can I trouble you for a score prediction?
I'm going to go 2-1 Blades. 2-1. We need to win this one for me, because it's about getting that gap between the likes of Stoke and ourselves shorter and tighter.
Brian, thank you very much. Pleasure to have your company in the build-up today. We are not long to go until kick-off now. So let's head over to our commentary team because we've got Matt Young and Kevin Gage, and I'll see you at half-time.
A similar response to the first international break will do just fine for Sheffield United as Slavica Janovic's team look to bounce back from back-to-back defeats. The Blades went 4